Hello, my name is Kaustubh and welcome to the Storylines and Headlines series of the Book Talkies, where we want you to read, think and connect the dots between the books and the latest events and trends. Swatantrya Veer Savarkar. The movie was recently released. Savarkar has been brought back to the limelight once again. The opinions are always polarized. Some people love him, they adore him from the bottom of their heart. Some people hate him to the core. What does he mean to me? This is what I am trying to find out. And you also try to ask yourselves, what kind of impact has Savarkar brought to India and ultimately to your present life? There are existing political opinions, existing political narratives that are going on. As I said, either you will love him or you will hate him. Let me give you a personal example. Not sure if you remember this, but back in 2015, when the current BJP government came to power, they reinstated the Swatantrya Veer Savarkar plaque in the Andaman and Nicobar Cellular Jail premises. That was previously installed by the same NDA government under Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but it was removed in 2004 when the UPA-led government came to power. It was removed by the then Petroleum Minister and Congress leader Manishankar Iyer. At that time, it was a big political controversy. Now as well, in 2015, when it got reinstated, it was again a big political controversy. I was slightly more active on Twitter, now x.com, and I was in a Twitter debate with one individual. Me being a troll, the other person was being a troll. I was supporting this action, that person wasn't. And at that point of time, I guarantee you, both of us had limited information about him because there was no content to read about. Now, in the next 5 to 6 minutes, I insist you to keep your political opinions aside, keep the agenda aside, and try to form your own thoughts about this one single individual. How would you do that? Well, read about his life. And that's what I did. Vikram Sampath, he wrote a 2-volume Magnum Opus on one single individual, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. The first book, Savarkar, Echoes from a Forgotten Past, is based on his life from 1883 to 1924. And his second book, Savarkar, A Contested Legacy, from 1924 until his death, 1966. It's a 1700-pager Magnum Opus. And I just read the first book, and I would like to extend a big thank you to Vikram Sampath for his painstaking research and the beautiful factual based narrative that he brought in about Savarkar. Whatever your opinion is, Savarkar is undoubtedly one of the most contentious political thinkers and leaders of the 20th century. That's, I think everyone agrees. He is an unsung, unhonored and unacknowledged leader in the pre and post independent India. That brings the first memory of the name Savarkar that I had. I think most of us would have had. During my school days, in my history book, when we were learning about the 1857 Indian Revolt in British India, government termed as the 1857 Sepoy Mutiny. It was Savarkar who called that as the India's first war of independence. That's it. That's the only information I had about him. And after reading this first volume of Magnum Opus, I'm saddened and actually question why we were not told about Savarkar. Why was his contribution completely whitewashed from our books? So, Vikram Sampath sir, thank you again for writing this book. My understanding of what makes Vinayak Damodar Savarkar as Swatantrya Veer Savarkar. Think about it. What makes him Veer? He was a middle child, born in 1883 to Chitpavan Brahmins. His father was Damodar Savarkar. His mother's name was Radhabai Savarkar. He was a younger brother to Babarao Savarkar, elder brother to Narayan Rao Savarkar. What was so different about him? And after reading the first volume, 3 things that really stand out for me that makes him Veer. First, he had extremely strong nationalistic mindset. My underlying learning from that is people like Savarkar, people like him, such revolutionaries, they give their souls, they give everything to the cause, and they never back down at any cost. You would remember that Savarkar was caught in London and he was brought back to India, and he was tried here in Indian court, and he was sentenced for double life imprisonment in Andaman and Nicobar jail. At that time, his entire property was confiscated, including utensils, clean cooking pots were confiscated. His family was brought to streets. At the same moment, he found out that his elder brother, Baba Rao, was in Andaman and going through this excruciating torture in the Andaman jail. His younger brother was also put to jail and was falsely accused. Not only that, his personal tragedy, his 4-year-old son, Prabhakar Savarkar, also passed away. Still, he kept on. I'm not even touching the story of how he endured the rigorous life imprisonment in Andaman and Nicobar Cellular Jail, the infamous Sazaye Kala Pani. There are 2 huge chapters dedicated to just this life of Savarkar and other political prisoners. That's almost 20% of the book. The absence of lavatories, extremely unhygienic food, little to nothing medical support or medical care, and on top of that, continuous physical torture on daily basis. That's what Savarkar, the Savarkar brothers, and other political prisoners endured. And Savarkar still kept going. The second thing that makes him Veer is the way he would bring people together for a shared vision. He founded matrubhoomila, India's first modern organized secret society of young revolutionaries that then became Abhinav Bharat, which ultimately had multiple branches in India. He modeled that on Italian revolutionary Mazzini's ideology of young Italy, where the guerrilla warfare, the guerrilla techniques that Mazzini brought, he thought were the perfect templates for the Indian struggle and make India independent. Not only that, he formed the Free India Society, the international faction of Abhinav Bharat, and the intention was to bring the young men from different parts of India who are there in London and become a more cogent force right at the mothership. Some of the known revolutionaries of Abhinav Bharat are Anand Lakshman Kanhere. He was the one who assassinated Nashik collector A.M.T. Jackson and Madan Lal Dhingra. He assassinated Lieutenant Colonel William Curzon Wiley. The Free India Society was strongly supported by Shyamji Krishna Verma, Madam Bhikaji Kama, and the likes of them. And we don't hear about them at all. The third takeaway, what makes him Veer, is he formed his own ideology. Not relying on the WhatsApp university or not relying on any political narrative. He formed his own ideology by reading about it. He had keen interest in reading everything from newspaper to books. History fascinated Vinayak. The books such as A Short History of the World, Nibandhamala by Vishnu Shastri Chiprunkar were some of his favorites. Kesari newspaper he would read out Kesari newspaper to his Abhinav Bharat members. Homer's Iliad was one such book that he would always go back to. Not only that, there were almost 20 to 30 books that he insisted all the members of Mitra Mela, Abhinav Bharat, should read so that they are intellectually aware of the world history, the heroes such as Napoleon, Mazzini, Vivekananda, and other revolutionaries across the world. His contribution? It was because of him and his book, The Indian War of Independence, 1857, which was published in 1909, that ignited that nationalistic flame in many Indian young revolutionaries. And one such freedom fighter, revolutionary, was Shahid Bhagat Singh. I believe it was one of the rare books which was banned even before it was put to publication. As I said, I've just read the first novel and I've learned so much about him. My learnings from Veer Savarkar's lives are, I think I got an answer to the question. The question being, what do we do when nothing is going your way? When you are at the lowest low of your life, what do we do? I think people like Savarkar, what they did was they kept going. They kept doing what they were supposed to do every single day. Just keep doing. It reminded me of one of the instances from the book, which I believe many of our Indian listeners would appreciate. 10th December 1909, it was the aftermath of Madan Lal Dhingra's execution. Savarkar was physically and emotionally exhausted and broken. He was sitting by the Brighton beach in England with his friend Niranjan Pal, Bipin Chandra Pal's son. He was overwhelmed with intense longing for his motherland, for India. Everything seemed to be going away from him. Everything seemed to be shattered. His professional life was ruined. His personal life was in tatters. This catharsis manifested itself in the form of an immortal melody that haunts innumerable people even to this date, including myself. Guess which melody that is. It is Ne Majasi ne Parat matrubhoomila Sagara pranatarmarla Sagara. I urge all of you to read Vikram Sampath's Magnum Opus on Savarkar and then decide, where do you stand? Do you hate him or do you like him? See you in the next episode.